Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into something super personal and incredibly important, your data.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about your health records, maybe those government files you interact with sometimes, or even just your private messages. Where does that sensitive stuff actually live?
Hmm.
And maybe, more critically, who can truly get their hands on it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. We're talking about digital sovereignty today. And this whole deep dive, it was sparked by a truly jaw-dropping admission from a major global tech company, Microsoft, actually.
Right.
They recently basically conceded they couldn't fully protect European data from foreign government access. It's a revelation that kind of upends a lot of assumptions, I think.
It really does. And what's fascinating here, it isn't just some niche technical detail buried in server room specs.
No.
This admission, which was made by Microsoft France's legal director under sworn testimony, it throws open this critical question. It's about national security, but also individual privacy and even economic independence for your country in this digital age.
So it's way bigger than just tech.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Understanding where your digital information lives, and maybe more importantly, who holds the legal keys to it. That's just paramount now, isn't it, in our totally interconnected world?
Okay, so let's pull back the curtain then. Let's look at this extraordinary moment in the French Senate, see what it truly revealed.
Let's do it.
Our mission here in this deep dive is to unpack these recent revelations. We want to explore the legal frameworks involved, understand the, frankly, significant implications for businesses, for governments across Europe,
Right.
and ultimately really consider what it really means to be digitally sovereign, in practice, not just as a concept.
Just theory, yeah.
Okay, so picture this. June 10th, 2025, there's a French Senate hearing going on. And Anton Carnot, he's Microsoft France's Director of Public and Legal Affairs, he gets asked this really direct question. Can he guarantee under oath that French citizen data will never be transmitted to U.S. authorities without explicit French authorization?
Wow, direct is right.
And his response, a very stark, no, I cannot guarantee it.
Oof, just flat out no.
Flat out no, under oath. From a company that's poured so much effort into emphasizing security assurances for European data, that must have just landed like a bomb in that room.
Oh, absolutely seismic. Exactly. This testimony, it just lays bare this fundamental tension.
Which is?
Well, despite all the sophisticated technical safeguards companies put in place, like encryption, think of them like a reinforced vault.
Right, yeah. Secure.
The legal framework often just supersedes those measures. Microsoft, as a U.S.-based company, operates under something called the Cloud Act.
Ah, the Cloud Act. We hear about that.
Right. And this act essentially means U.S. authorities can compel American companies to hand over data, even if that data is sitting in a server farm halfway across the world.
Like in Europe?
Like in Europe. And crucially, even if doing so defies local laws, like the privacy laws in France.
Wait, so even if the data is physically securely tucked away in a data center right there in Paris, if a valid U.S. government request comes through, Microsoft legally has to comply.
That's the bottom line, yes.
So it's not about where the bits and bytes are, but whose laws the company itself has to follow?
That's the fundamental vulnerability. It's this quiet paradox that's shaping our whole digital world. Carnot did explain, Microsoft has a rigorous process.
Sure.
They engage contractually with clients, especially the public sector ones, and they try to resist requests they deem unfounded. They try to redirect authorities to the clients themselves first.
Right, push back a bit.
Exactly. And their transparency reports, he pointed out, they claim no European company data has actually been affected by such requests in recent years.
But that's a statistical reassurance, right? It doesn't change the underlying legal power.
Precisely. As you just highlighted. That reassurance doesn't erase the fundamental jurisdiction issue. It's like having a fantastic unpickable lock on your front door, but someone else, legally, holds a copy of the key.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've heard about the legal tightrope, but what about the tech side? What were Microsoft's engineers saying about the technical reality? Because Pierre Lagarde, their technical director for the public sector, he also testified, didn't he?
He did, yes.
And he stated that since January 2025, under contractual guarantee, European client data doesn't leave the EU, whether it's stored, moving, being processed.
Right. Data at rest, data in transit.
So how do we square that with what the legal director said? It sounds almost contradictory.
It does sound contradictory on the surface, and this really raises an important point. It's about the crucial distinction between technical control and legal control.
Ah,
So while the data might physically reside within the EU, and yes, technical measures are in place to ensure it stays there, the company operating that infrastructure
Microsoft.
is still subject to the laws of its home country, the U.S. So the data doesn't physically leave the EU, you're right about that part, but the access to it can still be compelled by U.S. law.
Got it. So the data stays put, but the door can be legally open from afar.
That's a good way to put it. It's a critical nuance.
Yeah.
And it really defines the limits of digital sovereignty. Physical location isn't the whole story, not by a long shot.
And this whole French Senate inquiry, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere, right? It actually stemmed from an even bigger controversy. Something about the Health Data Hub, the HDH platform.
Yes, absolutely. That was the original spark, really. Created back in 2019, the idea was to advance French medical research. Great goal.
Sure.
But the HDH platform houses incredibly sensitive health data. I mean, literally the most private information about French citizens.
Yeah, you don't get much more sensitive than that.
Exactly. And senators, like the Commission President Simon Uzenat, they argued passionately that this kind of data must remain under sovereign control. He really emphasized the stark contradiction, between France's stated sovereignty goals and the reality of hosting such critical information with foreign providers.
Like Microsoft originally.
Like Microsoft originally, yes. It really highlights the ambiguities, the, frankly, frustrating delays in public action when it comes to digital sovereignty. Not just in France, this happens in many EU countries.
And it wasn't just health data they looked into. The inquiry also covered the Blue Cloud project. That's that joint venture, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft, Orange, Capgemini.
Yep.
Meant to be sovereign cloud services.
Cloud de confiance.
But wait, Microsoft is still the underlying technology provider there, even if I don't technically own capital in the venture itself.
Yeah.
So is that truly sovereign? It feels a bit like, I don't know, building a French house on an American foundation.
Well, it aims for separation from these extraterritorial legal effects, yes. The idea is to create a sort of fortress within a fortress. But as Microsoft's own testimony acknowledged, any disruption of the underlying U.S. technological links would impact Blue's operations.
Ah, there's the catch.
There's the catch. It points to a deeper issue. Even many so-called sovereign European solutions often rely quite heavily on foundational American technologies, operating systems, core cloud components.
The basic building blocks.
Exactly. And that creates inherent technical dependencies that fundamentally challenge true independence, no matter how many sort of legal or structural layers you add on top.
So it really sounds like, despite all the talk, all the political rhetoric about digital independence, the actual procurement decisions, where the government money goes, often still lean heavily towards these non-European solutions.
That's what the Senate inquiry found, yes.
They highlighted this, noting that multiple French cloud providers, companies like OVH and Scaleway, they believe they had the capabilities to host government data securely.
Right. They felt they could do the job.
Yeah, but they were only superficially consulted.
Right.
And then you have those massive education ministry contracts worth, 74 to 152 million euros?
Huge sums.
With Microsoft for productivity software, it feels almost like a country saying it wants to be self-sufficient in food production.
Yeah.
But then it keeps importing all its grain from abroad because maybe it's cheaper or just easier logistically. The words and the actions seem to clash pretty dramatically.
They absolutely do. And those education contracts, they cover millions of workstations. Millions. In schools, universities, that creates substantial exposure to foreign technological control.
Right, across the education system.
And what's truly fascinating is exactly that tension you mentioned between the sort of high-level rhetoric of digital sovereignty and the practical, often pragmatic, day-to-day reality of procurement.
Why the gap, do you think?
Well, the market often prioritizes features, scale, established relationships, things where the U.S. hyperscalers currently dominate, let's be honest.
They're the big players.
They are. And this highlights a significant gap that European alternatives, despite their commitment to sovereignty, are still working incredibly hard to close. It's not just a French problem either. You see this echoed across Europe, where governments face very similar pressures.
And this definitely isn't just about Microsoft, is it? I mean, if the Cloud Act applies to Microsoft because they're a U.S. company, presumably it applies to other big U.S. tech providers too, Google, Amazon.
Absolutely. That's a crucial point. The implications of this testimony reach far, far beyond just one company. Amazon Web Services, AWS, Google Cloud, other U.S.-based hyperscale providers. They operate under identical U.S. legal frameworks.
So it's systemic.
It suggests a widespread vulnerability in European digital infrastructure wherever it's built on these American technological foundations. You even see examples like Alan Huncan, a French startup. Ironically, they won public health insurance contracts in France, but they host their data on AWS. So they're subject to the exact same extraterritorial concerns we've been talking about.
Wow, so even a French company using AWS is exposed.
It's not just about the company providing the service directly. It's about the underlying infrastructure provider's legal obligations. It's a systemic challenge for any European entity using these major U.S. cloud services.
Okay, so what's being done then on the regulatory front, maybe, to address this? I know France has its SREN law, and the EU obviously has GDPR, but are they enough? Are they working?
Well, they're trying. France's SREN law, for instance, it mandates the migration of sensitive data to providers who are Secnum Cloud certified.
Secnum Cloud?
Yeah, it's basically a very stringent French government standard. It's designed to ensure data is truly secure and, crucially, protected from foreign access laws like the Cloud Act.
So it's supposed to be the gold standard for sovereignty.
It's supposed to be. But implementation has been,
well, slow. Patchy, maybe?
And EU regulations, yes, they are increasingly addressing data sovereignty, building on GDPR's foundations. But that extraterritorial reach of the Cloud Act, it creates these ongoing tensions with European privacy principles.
It's like two legal systems clashing.
It is. And while French authorities have started requiring sovereign hosting for specific government applications, enforcement seems inconsistent across different ministries. This latest testimony from Microsoft, it might actually be the jolt needed to accelerate stronger, more consistent implementation of the rules already on the books, rather than sparking whole new regulations.
So maybe it lights a fire under the existing laws.
Could be. It certainly seems like there's a growing market demand now for truly sovereign solutions, driven partly by these kinds of revelations.
Makes sense.
Yeah, cloud providers are definitely anticipating increased demand. That Secnum Cloud certification has become absolutely essential if you want to serve French government clients. It's driving significant investment.
So we might see a shift.
We might. Microsoft's Blue partnership is one approach, trying to bridge that gap. But pure European alternatives like OVH, Outscale, they may benefit more directly if procurement decisions really start to prioritize genuine sovereignty over just, convenience or existing features. This pressure could well accelerate existing European cloud investment programs too, like France 2030, which aims to develop genuinely competitive European alternatives. It really is becoming a race for digital independence.
Okay, so let's bring this back. What does this all mean for you listening right now? We've explored this core tension, haven't we? This desire for digital sovereignty.
A strong desire.
The really complex web of global technological dependencies we all live in.
Which are hard to escape.
And the very real, often kind of hidden impact of these extraterritorial legal frameworks like the U.S. Cloud Act.
Yeah, and I think it just reiterates the absolute importance of critical thinking. When you're evaluating technology promises from any company.
Don't just take the marketing spiel at face value.
Exactly. Understanding the underlying infrastructure of our digital world, it's becoming crucial. And recognizing those nuances, we talked about the difference between technical measures, like where your data physically sits, and the legal realities, like who can legally demand access to it. That's key to making truly informed decisions. It really is about knowing who actually holds the keys to your data kingdom.
So think about your own data. Think about the services you use every single day, your email, your photo storage, your social media.
All of it.
And think about how governments are making these huge procurement decisions that affect national digital independence. Is your personal information, your health details, or even your country's critical infrastructure? Is it truly as protected as you might believe?
It's a vital question to ask.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. In a world where data just flows across borders constantly, can true digital sovereignty ever be fully achieved? Or is it always going to be this continuous negotiation, a balancing act between security, convenience, and, well, global interconnectedness?
A constant tightrope walk.
Yeah. What aspects of your digital life might be more exposed, more vulnerable than you previously imagined?